I'm ready.
Set. Would you all please rise and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Have a roll call, please.
Mr. Burns?
Here.
Mr. Cook?
Here.
Mr. D'Adriano?
Here.
Mr. Rogan?
Here.
Mr. Griffin?
Here. All right, without objection, I would ask the clerk to file the reports as read. And can I get a motion on the supervisor's report for October, please?
Yes, I'll do that, but one correction is that we did receive reports from the Putnam Lake Fire Department.
Okay.
Okay, so just instead of none, it should be, we received, you got them?
Yeah.
Right, the first, second, and third quarter reports.
I'll forward it to yourself.
Okay.
I'll forward it to Mike.
Supervisor's report. I'll make a motion that the town board approve the supervisor's report for the month of October 2014. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Minutes, please.
I'd like to make a motion to accept the minutes of October 22nd town board meeting and November 5th town board meeting as written. So moved.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Excellent. Audit of the bills.
I will make the motion that the town board approve abstract number 22 dated November 19th, 2014 in the amount of $167,810.99. So moved.
Second.
Boy, that's a cheapie.
That
I'll
was
have a roll call, please.
Mr. Burns?
Yes.
Mr. Cook?
Yes.
Mr. D'Adriano?
Yes.
Mr. Rogan?
Yes.
Mr. Griffin?
Yes. Mr. Rogan.
Okay, the first item I have on my agenda is the renewal for the animal shelter services for dogs captured by the Patterson Dog Control Officer, and this is between the town and the Putnam County Humane Society. So I will make a motion to introduce the resolution into the record as if it were read in its entirety. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any
Hey,
opposed?
how are you?
Second item I have is an update on the proposed bamboo law. I spoke with some folks that have these laws in effect in Long Island, specifically Hempstead, and the person that's responsible for it in Hempstead is also a village trustee in Floral Park. And the law I think that we have is a good proposal. I think there will be some challenges that we will have to take on a case-by-case basis with enforcement. But I think that we are in a position, we've seen some instances just recently, I think Russ, with the recent snowfall, you've seen instances where the snow and the bamboo don't do very well together, and they tend to create a public safety issue where it falls over into the road. And I think that this will give us an opportunity to protect the citizens of Patterson and give some recourse. So, I think at this time, unless there's other comments, I think we're in a better position to move forward on this.
Then go right ahead.
Any other questions, comments? Anyone?
No, I completely agree with you on the enforcement end of it, but it's important that people understand that running bamboo and certain other invasive species are very problematic, and I think this is a step in the right direction. I'm just not sure how we're going to manage it, but I'm sure our codes compliance department will find a way.
I think it's just a start, though. We got to get a handle on it somehow, get ahead of it a little bit.
Well, and it's an education process too.
Yeah.
I mean, people have to understand that running bamboo is just an absolute nightmare.
Yeah.
Because once it gets established, there's just almost no way to get rid of it, and it's relentless.
All right, well, we've had a public hearing on it, so I guess we could
Yeah,
approve the,
but there should be a resolution of adoption, no? Am I the only one?
Hal?
No, we have.
Okay, here it is.
For the last meeting.
That's Daz. I do not have it, I
Is
apologize.
that the resolution with the law, or is that just the law?
and this was for the public hearing.
Thank you.
It's in here somewhere.
I was just handed my copy.
Yeah, it wasn't.
Resolution of adoption, same thing.
Tonight's meeting.
Thank you. Okay, so I will make a motion to introduce the resolution to adopt local law number 2 of 2014 in reference to the bamboo laws we just mentioned. So moved.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I just want to comment on, I think it showed great restraint on our part that we're in December and this is only our second local law.
That's right.
That's good.
I challenge the state
printing
and
cost
federal
we save?
government to do the same.
That's all I have.
Unless they're amending the tax code.
Okay, Clover Lake audit request. I spoke to special counsel Tim Curtis about this the other day. Apparently, we are receiving a complete lack of cooperation from Clover Lake. They continue to refuse to turn over their financial statements and other things that have been requested through the courts. Mr. Curtis said that at this point he was requesting that the town authorize the hiring of a forensic auditor. However, I have not gotten any paperwork in as of today, so I will table that till the next meeting, and we'll see what he and Chris come up with between now and then.
How are we going to, if they're not providing documents, what are we going to audit?
Well, I guess
What isn't it-
it'll be through a court order.
And it's their tax cert against us, isn't it?
Yeah,
So, I mean,
and it's
we-
been going on
I
for
would think that
5 years now.
he'd be making a motion to dismiss based on failure to comply.
That's where I was. I mean, look, feel free to give Tim a call and chat it out with him, because you probably understand the process as well or better than I do. But I had asked him. I said, if they're not giving us information,
Yeah, what-
they refuse to give us their financials, they refuse to give us everything every step of the way. Why can't we just make a summary motion to dismiss?
Right.
So
All right.
I'm not sure why he feels that this is the next step in the process, but please give him a call.
Please. This is going on too long. Of course, there's too much money, and we're getting nowhere.
Well, one of the things throughout the course of the submittals has been that we're looking for fees and expenses. So hopefully between that and laws, we get most of our legal fees and things back
I hope so.
when they're finally settled, if they're ever settled.
Okay.
Next item on my agenda is Partners in Safety contract renewal. Partners in Safety does our drug testing program.
Were you conflicted?
They've done a great job. We've had them for years. And at this time, I would like to move the resolution as read to approve agreement with Partners in Safety, Inc. for drug and alcohol testing for the town of Patterson for calendar year 2015. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And I guess the resolution authorizes me to sign.
That's it.
It is done. Mr. Burns.
Alrighty, first item on my agenda is a resolution. We were, regarding the carp gate at Putnam Lake, we are under secret. We have to make a negative determination regarding the significance of the carp gate and its impact on the environment. So I have a resolution. Patterson was assumed lead agency role, and I basically have a resolution dated December 3rd indicating that we found that there's a negative declaration under the secret laws. So I would like to make a motion to move the resolution as if read. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Second item on my agenda is zoning law restaurants. We have a memo that we got from the town planner. As many of you may know, there were some issues regarding a restaurant that was closed and then reopened under is a different type of restaurant, and it's had a considerably different impact on the local residents because this is adjacent to a residential area. Our town planner looked at the definition of in our zoning code of restaurant, and I'll read just a couple of paragraphs to just give you a flavor for his findings. It speaks to the fact that I guess back in the 70s and 80s, our definition under the code of restaurant was a very broad and liberal definition. I guess in the 1976 zoning code. But the town planner writes, I would pose to the board that the issue is not the definition of a restaurant, but the need to ensure that correct zoning requirements are met and to evaluate the potential impacts that may occur from any changes in a business, allowing for the town to potentially mitigate any potential impacts. This is especially true when a commercial property is adjacent to a residential neighborhood. In the present case, the building department did not view the change from pizzeria to a barbecue eatery as a change in use of a site, and therefore there was no trigger built into the town code to review potential impacts of the new business by any other department of the board. There are a number of means to address this concern. The town board could change the zoning code such that any change in a business at a particular location must be viewed by the planning board. This method may prove overly burdensome to a new business seeking to locate to Patterson. A second alternative would be to amend the zoning code to provide a better criteria by which a more detailed review of the proposal from a new business would occur. Again, this could occur in a number of ways, and then he goes on to list some possible changes in our zoning that we could adopt, and also give some samples. So I don't know if everybody just wants to review this and we'll consider it. It might be something that we want to talk about when we have the joint meeting of the planning board, the zoning board, and the town board that Mike's so looking forward to.
I, for one, like what the town planner provided us with the changes. I would like to move on it. I don't think we have to wait until March or whenever. I like the town planner to put this thing in public hearing format and resolution format.
Well, wouldn't we have to decide exactly what direction we're going to take in terms of the proposals, a couple of different possibilities in terms of amendments?
Yeah, I think it makes sense to come back at the next meeting and get everybody's suggestions, recommendations.
Have we circulated this? Has planning and zoning even seen this, Rich?
No.
So I mean, it seems as a preliminary matter, we should forward a copy of this memorandum, which was great informational for us, but to them for comment and then maybe some direction.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
I mean, I have gotten copies, so.
All right, next item on my agenda are budget transfers, my favorite. Budget transfer 49 is $1,100 between code enforcement personnel and fire code personnel. Budget transfer 50 is $2,100 between control of dogs, personal services, and codes enforcement contractual. Budget transfer request 51 is $250 between recreation youth and recreation seniors. Budget transfer 52 is $20,000. This is a highway transfer regarding snow removal between highway machinery equipment and capital outlay and highway snow removal contract for $20,000. Again, this is usually just mostly year-end balancing of various accounts that are some are under and some are over. Budget transfer 53 is $177 for highway between hospital medical and CSEA dental and optical. So I would make a motion to approve budget transfers 49, 50, 51, 52, and 53. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
I have one item I'd like to add on my agenda, a brief item. I make a motion to add an item to my agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Okay, now I can add the item. I was just going to mention that we, at Charlie's behest, we went out and took a tour of the landfill and the solar panels that are being built out there. We all froze, but it was actually very nice progress had been made on the site. The one thing that we did, I believe a fence is going to be put in there in the spring.
Yes.
And I was wondering if we should give consideration in the interim, or how burdensome it would be to add a surveillance camera to the site until that happens, just to prevent vandalism. Would that be something? Because there's surveillance at sanitation now, right? No? There's cameras. They're just not on? No? Highway? No? No one has surveillance?
Highway does.
Would you be able to add a camera from where you are? Just basically, my concern was when they went out there and they were, installing the initial tracking to put the panels on, there were a lot of ATV tracks. And
Stairs, I believe.
no, he said these were like before they found tracks before they got out there.
It could have been our tractor tires. We just mowed it.
Well, I also happen
I
to.
never saw an ATV out there.
Well, I happen to know who lives next door, and they drive up and down in front of highway like hell on ATVs, and I have a feeling that they may, something might occur at that location. I mean, the panels are not fragile, but we could pretty quickly incur significant. Now, honestly, this is not incurred to the town. I just think we should probably take some proactive measure if we could easily put a camera there.
The only thing I would say about that is because of the size and the scope of the place, you would probably need a very expensive camera, because you'd have to have something that could pan wide and then significantly zoom in. I don't have a problem. I'll talk to our
If it's a quick
security
fix, I
company.
just thought it wouldn't hurt to have some surveillance.
And well, actually, what I was going to suggest is I'll get some information and price on the camera, and then I'll talk to Mr. Curran and see if they want to pay for it.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
And it can actually be permanent.
The
But it's just, at night, it's very dark out there, so you're gonna need a special lens for that.
Right.
And the other part of it is, like I said, it's such a huge area. To capture the whole area and then get it down to useful resolution, I think you're gonna be looking at some very expensive equipment.
Well,
But
I think
it's certainly worth
the
asking.
final number on the project, I think at least what we were told, was about 2.5 million. So it's a $2.5 million project. I would think Mr. Curtin wouldn't mind buying a, $500 camera until he gets a fence around
Oh,
it.
You're talking way more money than that. It's probably more like $5,000.
Well, we'll see. The other thing that actually the one thing that came out of that is that solar site is going to be providing electricity to Trinity Pauling. Apparently Trinity Pauling has purchased all the electricity that comes off of that site by contract, and that will, I guess, be the next 20 years. They'll be providing electricity for the entire Trinity Pauling site, which I thought was pretty impressive that that's going to generate that much.
I think it's actually, they're buying for phase one. There's a second phase that the town is looking at. We're gonna probably look to be purchasing the power off of phase two.
And that was actually, the third thing that came out of it is the county has not acted on putting a solar site across the street. If the site on the landfill is used up, then potentially that might be a site that there'd be an incentive to us economically to purchase electricity off of, which would be a win-win for the county. So that is all. Thank you.
Okay. Pete?
All right. First item on my agenda is the Putnam Lake Park District Advisory Board year-end report. First of all, I just want to say, I don't want to take away from the other towns' boards that we have. We have very, all the boards, the town, everyone does an excellent job, all our volunteers and everyone who serves on our boards. But I just wanted to, pay particular attention to the Putnam Lake Park District Advisory Board. Since I've attended a lot of the meetings, I've seen where they've gone from the beginning of the year till now, and I think they made a lot of accomplishments. So I've asked the board to provide me with a list of their accomplishments. First of all, I just want to say how the year started with 4 board members, and 2 resigned. 2 of those board members resigned early in the year, leaving Hank Earl and Mike Urkel to continue on with the board. These 2 men immediately started interviewing Park District residents and rebuilt the board, bringing it back up to seven members. So I'm just going to go over a little bit about their accomplishments, what they provided for us. The current members are Hank Earl, Pat Ploger, Mike Urkel, Marguerite Short, Tom Douglas, Laura Russo, and Rich Filippelli. And I believe some of them are here today. So some of the accomplishments regarding water quality: applications were submitted to the DEC requesting permits for algicide and herbicide treatments to the lake. Approvals were received and algicide treatment was applied with great success. Additionally, Allied Biological was hired and performed weed mapping for potentially introducing carp for additional remediation purposes. Concerning the CSLAP program, water samples were taken over the course of 8 weeks and sent to them for testing. All were good results. Regarding the beach and parkland, clearing additional boat storage areas and posting signs to identify them. New sand was delivered at Warren Beach. They hired part-time maintenance worker and additional staff on an as-needed basis to perform lawn and maintenance duties. Handed out beach ID bracelets to track amount of residents and ensuring only residents and their guests were utilizing Warren and Jackson beaches during the summer. Hiring lifeguards, dock installations, weed removal, general beach cleanup, and meeting all necessary Board of Health safety requirements for swimming and bathing. Memorial field projects included installation of new fencing, removal of old shed, installation of new shed, new benches, clay and gravel. Rented commercial garbage container, Porta Sands. New signage was installed to identify beaches, parking. Removal of abandoned boats, and they held them at auction. Held community spring and fall cleanup days. And they also began a neighborhood watch program, which town board member myself, Peter D'Andriano, has implemented, and Putnam Lake Advisory Board member Pat Ploger is the liaison or the coordinator. Continued the Piranhas swim team, continued the men's softball league, restarted swim lessons, instituted an events committee run by volunteers, which held community events, which included winter gathering, Easter egg hunt, summer kickoff luau and Halloween window painting events. Pursuing construction grant for parkland improvements, prepared the budget for 2015, enhanced website and sent notices for going-ons in the community awareness, and currently researching projects for 2015 to include professional services needed to restore parkland and beach areas regarding drainage issues, implementing recreational projects, and enhancing the beautification and accessibility to the parklands. These specific projects are new fencing and repairs at beach areas, walking path and benches around the parkland, basketball court at Memorial Field, ball field drainage, and backstop repair. Clean up vines and dead trees, soffits and roof repair to the boathouse. Also, a community email list will be compiled for updates and notices. So as you see, they were very active. They did a lot of work. I think they did an excellent job. So I just wanted to publicly thank them for all their hard work and what they've done over the years.
I couldn't agree more. You talk about the other boards. Well, all the other boards are very well established boards in this town. The Veterans Park has been around since long before I even moved to town, which was 1978. This is a 2-year-old board. Hank, I think you deserve all the credit in the world for stepping up under the most difficult circumstances. We know the prior chairperson resigned rather abruptly and left you guys pretty much on your own. And I have to say the whole board has done an absolutely outstanding job. All the facilities look tremendous. There's been huge improvements. Ran great. Usually the test for me is how well something is working, is how few complaints and how many times I have to get involved, and I didn't have to get involved at all. So I got to say you guys did a fantastic job, and I'm hoping that everybody's good to go for at least one more year.
Nicely done.
Job well done.
Outstanding.
Why I brought this up and what really moved me was just to see a community come together. While the board kind of fell apart at the beginning of the year, and there were some issues to begin with when I first came on this board, and I started attending the meetings, I just saw how they just kind of pulled together and how all these people from the community who were genuinely interested in making their community better kind of came together. And that's why I started attending the meetings, because I just liked seeing that sort of civic duty and people come together like that. So, okay, my next item on my agenda is the Putnam Traffic Safety Board update. On December 20th, I represented the town of Patterson at the last Putnam County Traffic Safety Board meeting, and at the meeting I brought up the issue that I brought up at our town board meeting, the issue of Route 311, the railroad bridge wall deteriorating. As I mentioned at, I think, our last meeting or 2 meetings ago, we were trying to reach out to the MTA with no avail, and so I figured maybe I could try bringing it up at the Traffic Safety Board meeting. The DOT representative and the Putnam County Highway Commissioner, Penna, said they're going to try to reach out to the MTA and see where we can get with that. So I also brought up the problem with the loss of view off the exits off I-84. When the intersection, when it was redeveloped over the last year or so, is redeveloped. It was actually designed for traffic lights to be there. So when they put the stop lines off the exits, they're kind of short. So when you come up to the stop line, you lost a lot of line of view coming from the other directions when you're trying to turn off. So the DOT said they're going to look at it and see what they can do. I don't know when we're going to put traffic lights up or if traffic lights are going to go up. So they're going to look at it and see if they can redesign it for the meantime. And then finally, the DOT reported to us that they are installing pavement markings on Route 311 to address the railroad bridge height restrictions on 164 and 311. They looked into a bunch of options. They went out and surveyed the area and looked at. There's plenty of signage. When you get off 84, there's a huge sign, and there's signs all over the place.
There's a flashing sign as you're coming down the hill and everything else.
Yeah, so I guess people don't really pay much attention to it, but so they're going to put pavement markings on the roadway, advising of the height restriction. So that's all I have for that. My next item is the Fairfield Drive crosswalk update. Just bringing a little history on this. This was brought up at a neighborhood watch meeting, at a Putnam Lake neighborhood watch meeting. A lot of residents were concerned about how dangerous it was to cross Fairfield Drive in the area of the monument and the market, crossing to the stores. So County Legislator Ginny Nasarino, she attended the meeting, and she brought the residents' concerns to the County Commissioner Penna and pushed for crosswalks. I just got a report from Legislator Nasarino that the county will be installing 2 crosswalks. Actually, one is up already, right? I think one is part of it from the market to across to the stores, and a second one is going to be installed in the monument area.
It's in Osa.
Oh, that's in Osa?
Osa.
Yeah, it's not
Excellent.
completed though.
Okay, good. So I just want to thank Legislator Nasarino, the Neighborhood Watch Coordinator Pat Ploger for helping as well, and all the residents that voiced their concerns about the safety at the intersection. You know, we saw a concern. We went to the commissioner and we got it done. So Neighbor Watch isn't just crime; it's also quality of life issues and safety issues. So, you know, it actually worked. So. Last item on my agenda is the Patterson Fire Department sign update. So I think I'll refer over to Don. Don and I talked a little bit about this, and he's going to give you a little.
Yeah, since the last meeting, I've spoken to Rich Williams, also to the other attorneys in our office about the history of the project to date, and I really think that the board has to come to possibly a consensus as to how it wants to approach this. The zoning issue is really the threshold issue. The property on which the sign is proposed is a lot separate than the firehouse property. So the sign requires a variance and a use variance in order for it to be approved, because signs are accessory to a principal use on a lot, and since it's a vacant lot, there's nothing for it to be accessory to under the zoning code. So that's one variance that has to be obtained, also an area variance for the type of sign. It complies, to my knowledge, with the setback requirements, but so there's a use variance and area variance that are required. In order to address that, there are a couple of ways that it can be accomplished. One is for the fire department to merge the 2 properties. That would eliminate the need for the use variance, because the sign would now be on the same lot with the firehouse. Another would be for the town board to adopt a code amendment that would be specific to this sign and possibly other similar signs. So there were some pretty long-range planning considerations here if the town is going to do that. There's really not much else to discuss on it. It's a non-starter until there is some relief on either of those fronts.
Well, we had talked with the fire department about merging the lots, and they seemed pretty adamant that they didn't want to. I thought that seemed like the logical solution, and they were pretty adamant that they wanted to maintain the flexibility of if they wanted to sell off the lot in the future, or there would be some other use for it. So that seemed to be something that was not on the table from the fire department's perspective, as I recall the discussions. So
the only other possibility that kind of came to mind, and I'm not that familiar, Sean, you might be more familiar with the boundaries and lay of the land, is if there's a possibility of doing some type of a lot line change where a portion of the vacant lot could merge with the firehouse property. It would be something short of an actual merger of the entire lot with the firehouse property, but that's something else that potentially could be considered. I don't know if that's been looked at
I thought when we left
before any of the boards.
when we left off with that discussion, they were really pressing for exemption from the zoning codes, which I was really leery of. But
Well, I think one way to possibly look at it would be to, from emergency management and public service information angle, if there's a possibility that we can license it or approve it on a ongoing basis through some type of agreement, so that we have the main purpose of the sign is for public information and emergency management. So.
What you're talking about, though, sounds like a change to zoning to exempt
Well,
those types of uses from certain zoning
The,
issues.
the exemption that would jump to mind is an exemption under what's called the Monroe Doctrine, which is a process and an evaluation that has to be done as to the actual public nature of the sign, and is it actually being used for a government purpose? And there are 7 or 8 factors that have to be looked at and weighed, likelihood by your board in making that determination. If it's the board's consensus to look into that, then we certainly can do that. It is an initial threshold issue is because the fire department operates within a fire protection district. It does not have the same stature as if a fire district was in effect. The fire district is its own separate entity, thereby allowing it to be considered a governmental entity which could make use of the Monroe Doctrine concepts. So I'm not sure if that exemption can be granted since we're dealing with a fire protection district as opposed to a fire district.
Well, Don, I think what we need from you is everything you just said in a memo form to the board.
Sure.
So that we all have the same document that we can discuss. I mean, just what you said in the last 3 minutes is wide-ranging.
Yeah,
if
oh
you
yeah,
will.
for sure.
And, so we're not sitting here next meeting or 2 meetings from now and saying, what did Don say about this or
Well,
about that?
there's absolutely no problem with doing that. We can certainly do that.
I
If none of the options available to the fire department are viable ones from where they sit, then, and it's the board's consensus that this is a project that you would like to see move forward, and if possible, then that's the way to go, and we will do that.
I thought when we last addressed it, there were memos done. Rich, did you do memos about the options, or did?
The planning board sent over a detailed memo. to
Yeah,
the
'cause I
town
remember
board about
reading-
their opinion on, after they reviewed the sign. I mean, I can read.
Yeah, maybe we could recirculate that rather than
I could
reinventing the wheel,
recirculate
because I remember there was a pretty lengthy analysis done of all the
Yeah.
different options.
But on the exemption side, we didn't focus on the exemption aspect.
Well,
We could take
I-
a look at it. I don't know what your
My
off the top of your head
personal
thoughts are on
opinion
that,
would be,
Rich. We can-
I would be the way I would prefer to see us look at it. Because if you send them back to the zoning board and they give them area variances and, certain variances, and is that potential for setting precedent to say, okay, well, when the library comes in and says, gee, we want the same sign. If we do this as an emergency management or some type of specific licensing, I'm not using the right language here, but under some sort of an exemption type thing to say this is, one in Putnam Lake, and limit it to that for the purposes of emergency management, public information, that type of thing, community bulletin board. I think we would have probably be less of a future potential problem for the zoning board to say, well, we gave it to one, how can we say,
We can always structure whatever we're going to do to make sure that if it sets a precedent, that precedent is one that's going to be necessary to follow. Don't be concerned about, sending something to the ZBA and having them make a decision that might set a precedent that would open the floodgates. We're not going to let that happen. That's not going to happen. I also want to, throw my 2 cents in that, I know you want to do this by a licensing agreement, but they're a private contractor, and a licensing agreement is not going to exempt that property from our zoning unless you own the equipment. If you own, maintain, or completely responsible for that equipment, then you can go down that road. But they want to own the equipment. So you either have to change the zoning or, find another way to do this. Send them back to the ZBA. Simply the town granting them a licensing agreement saying, we're gonna tell you it's okay to put the sign up.
Yeah, that's that.
That doesn't get them out from under any zoning requirements.
My personal opinion is to move towards adopting a code amendment with specific guidelines as to what we discussed, what I discussed with Mike and what we discussed with the fire department president, those specific guidelines and hold to those guidelines under a code amendment.
Well, I think, we're gonna need some guidance from the professionals on this as to, what options we have, if it's just one option, or, change the zoning or send them to the ZBA, if those are, if you're telling us that's the only two things that are on the table.
That's what I believe to be the only two options. I don't
Well,
think the
then
licensing
put it in
slash
writing.
exemption is a viable option.
And do what Charlie said.
If, as Rich said, if the town owned the equipment, that's one thing. If the county, for example, wanted to come in and put in some type of informational slash public safety sign, that's where the concepts under the Monroe case would be directly and clearly applicable that you could consider. But here, I don't think it's available at all.
Well, if you
And-
start with the memo that Rich talked about, then I think that's probably a
Yeah.
logical starting point.
And also, if a code amendment is the way to go, that obviously has to be looked at as far as possible ramifications and how site-specific it could be made. There's generally a prohibition against singling out one particular use and adopting a code amendment for it. You've all heard of spot zoning, and that's the type of thing that would be considered there. But also, and again, with regard to precedent-setting potential, perhaps some type of conditional use permit or special permit could be built in where the conditions are set forth that along all of the things that have been discussed as far as content and hours of operation and emergency uses and the like. Those could all be incorporated in special conditions that would go right into the code amendment. So that's another option. I would also, because I don't know from the actual lay of the lots if a merger if a lot line adjustment is something that would be possible. I don't.
For the location that is most visible.
I don't really.
That's absolutely not gonna work.
Not
Where they
gonna
wanna
work,
put the
okay.
sign, it's right up close to the property line. You'd create some sort of V. It just wouldn't make a lot of sense.
Okay.
Yeah, you'd almost have to make a little flag lot out there to do
Yep.
it. so.
Sliver of land to attach to it. Okay.
Right, it's more than halfway to the opposite side of, towards 311.
Right.
Their properties to the north.
Okay.
And, so you'd have to take the whole big lot and go take a little slice out of it. So yeah, I don't think that's an option. But let us know what
Okay.
what the brain
Good.
trust down there thinks our options are.
Okay.
Put it in writing, and then we'll bring it up at the next meeting. We'll start figuring out which way we want to go with it.
Great.
All right, Charles.
Now we get to the heavy lifting part of the agenda here.
Oh yeah.
We have a memo from the building operations and maintenance guru, Paul Farber, who says that the second-hand computer used in the building operations and maintenance department has finally crashed. I am respectfully requesting the town board's approval to purchase a new computer with the assistance of the town planner for an amount not to exceed $1,500. The funds are available in the 2014 budget. So I will make a motion that the town board approve the building operations request for a new computer not to exceed $1,500. So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Rich, is there somebody in this building that's ready for a new computer? That we can take the old computer? No disrespect to Paul, but he doesn't need a $1,500 computer for what he's doing.
I've got a computer that's ready to be installed to replace your secretary's system.
Is that, well, I think, there should be enough computers around here. I mean, giving Paul a new computer is about as pointless as giving me a new computer.
Sue, your computer's still operating fairly well, correct?
It's touch and go.
Well, yeah, but I mean, how much sophisticated work is he actually doing on it? I mean, he keep some records and do some emails.
Communication.
Yeah, I mean, I would be more inclined to go that way than just go buy him a computer that's got all the bells and whistles. Or if we can find him a computer for $500 or $600. I mean, he doesn't need a sophisticated piece of equipment down there. He's not doing a whole heck of a lot with
Well,
it.
I understand that, but it's not the basic computer box that's the expense, it's the software that goes on it. You want to have an office suite, you want to, have certain basic programs. That's what drives the systems up. And, I had suggested $1,500 as a cap. Generally we've been buying them about $1,100, $1,200.
All right, well, my first inclination would be to, if we can, if you think there's any possibility of cleaning up Sue's computer and letting him use it and see how far he gets with it.
I've got a bunch of old computers. We've got Sue's. Next in line after Sue is Bob, and I wouldn't give that computer to anybody.
Okay.
Well,
I think Paul's current computer is a mishmash of computers
Yeah,
as it is.
it is.
Well, usually what we do is we take, like Richie probably needs the most computing power of anybody, maybe he and Trish. So you want to make sure that Trish has, the best operating equipment. Richie has the best operating equipment. For me, I read emails, I answer emails, I do a little bit of, sometimes I read stuff from, on the state controller's site and a few other things. I don't need a sophisticated computer. It's a waste of money to get me a machine that's got a lot of bells and whistles on it. It's just pointless. So the best thing to me is you just go from the most sophisticated person that needs the best computer down to the person that needs the least amount of computer. And honestly, no disrespect to Paul or the maintenance department, but it's just a matter of records keeping and emailing and doing some online research when he needs parts or pieces. It's not.
So how about a tablet, a $600 tablet, something like that work?
I don't know what his needs are. I don't know what he's looking for.
Well,
I didn't discuss
think
it
we
with
should
him
do a
today.
little more homework on it. We'll find out. But I'm okay approving this because somebody in this building needs a new computer, and I know that for a fact. So I would suggest if we're going to set up a new computer and then buy one potentially as a backup or what, but we'll get Paul a new computer one way or the other. But I think we should evaluate who has the highest priority need and work our way down.
Listen, I do that for this building. We're on a replacement schedule.
Right.
But he's not part of that whole scenario.
I understand.
He's kind of a direct center. I don't know what they do down there.
He doesn't. I don't think he needs a brand new all the bells and whistles computer. That's just my opinion. But we'll make sure he gets a new computer one way or the other. But motion been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
I told you, good people.
Wow.
Charlie, you're
Can't
trouble.
believe that just happened.
Trouble, I tell you.
I'm just. Next time I'll keep my opinions to myself. Other business. I do have one thing I'd like to bring up. Trish has been working with the town attorney for an RFP for auditing services. In last year we had a new auditor and it saved us some money. Trish wants to go back out this year and put out an RFP for auditing services. So being this, there is some timeliness to the issue, but the RFP isn't totally finished, because I know...
Two words have to be finished.
Yeah, there was a few things, and Trish and I spent about 45 minutes with it the other day, and I know she's been working with you and Emily. What I'd like to do is I'd like to make a motion to authorize the town clerk to advertise the RFP as soon as the comptroller and the town attorney deem it complete and ready to go. So I'll make that as a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
How long did we commit to last time?
Well, we did a
2 years.
1 year because
Oh,
we
did?
wanted to
Okay.
see how it worked out. They did a pretty good job. There was some things at the end that we got another bill that was a little potentially questionable, but Trish, this time around, she wants to look at and get some options to possibly have the ability to go to a second or a third year, so that we don't have to keep going through this process year after year. But we didn't build the last one entirely like that. So, thank you. That's all I have.
I have one thing.
Okay.
We received this memo from Frank Farrell relative to Royal Carding renewal. And he's stating that effective December 14th, 2014, the contract for single stream recycling haulage will expire. Royal Carding presently is charging the state bid rate of $169.50 per pull. Royal provides us with excellent service, therefore I recommend that the contract be renewed. So I guess I'll make a motion to...
Well, just, you okay with what's going on here, Don?
I guess I want to, typically what we would do is confirm the state bid that's in effect and take a look at that. So
Okay.
I don't think there's any problems as evidenced by Frank's memo with the service that's being provided, but we would just double.
You're just stating that it doesn't...
Are we
It
within the
expires on the
timeframe for the next meeting?
14th.
Yeah, before the next meeting is 17th, so I think if everything checks out, I think we should approve it contingent
Subject
to
to-
everything
I think
checking,
it'd be
you know,
safe.
your town attorney's approval.
Yep, just to double check on that.
Second.
You can't second your own motion.
Second.
Okay, motion been made and seconded that we're going to approve the Frank Farrell's request.
Do we have to set a term, 1 year term?
I would suggest that we do for 1 year.
1 year term, okay.
And it was based on attorney's approvals. So, motion been made and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Kevin?
Yes,
Any
I-
other business?
Oh, no.
I just had one thing I forgot to add when, from the year-end report from the Putnam Lake Advisory Board. They also had a little thank you memo that they wanted to add. They're gonna post it on their website. What's the website address, Mike?
PutnamLakeParkDistrict.com.
PutnamLakeParkDistrict.com.
Easy to remember.
They post all the going-ons there, all the public events and everything else that they're doing on that site as well, right?
Well, I think we're at our favorite point in the evening. We do have some town board members that want to get to the Chamber of Commerce Christmas party, so is there any member of the public that would like to be recognized at this time? Well, being that no member of the public wishes to be recognized, I guess you guys are off to Christmas
Never know,
party
man.
time. Can I entertain a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Good night.
I don't know, Antoinette, you decide who made the